welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to sew a corset like the one I'm wearing right now. Now this corset is very simple. It has 4 style lines where I have inserted channels and boning into. And the back is not laced but has rather a very sturdy open and closed zipper. In my previous video, I showed you how to make the pattern for this corset, so be sure to check that out before watching this video. I'll also leave a link for that video in the description box below. So before we start, have a look at the subscription box below and subscribe if you haven't subscribed so that you don't miss a beat. Give this video a like if you want to see more of this kind of videos from me. And also feel free to drop me a comment or two in the comment section below if you have any question or need any clarification whatsoever. So let's get sewing already. My name is Ijeoma and welcome to my sewing diary. The materials you will need are your completed front and back corset pattern, pins, measuring tape, bias tape, fabric scissors, matching thread for your main fabric, basting thread and needle, tailor's chalk, your main fabric. I used about half yards of this beautiful midnight blue damask fabric, interface and lining of the same amount as the main fabric, boning. I use this skinny boning, but you can use any type, and your zipper. I will also leave the list of everything you need in the description box below. Cut out your main fabric according to the instructions on the pattern pieces and mark notches at the waist, under bust point, and all seam allowance intersections. Now this is a very important step as it allows you to align your garment properly when sewing, so don't skip here. Your notches should not be more than 1/8 of an inch. Cut the same on your lining and interface and notch as well. Pin the interface to the lining, matching notches, and press with your steam iron to stick together. Match all notches on the center front and side front pieces and hold together with pins to create one front piece. Do the same thing for the back pieces, matching all notches so that you have 2 back pieces. Pin the back pieces to the front piece at the sides by placing right side on right side and matching notches so that you now have one complete piece with 6 seam lines to sew. You'll also do the same thing to the main fabric, that is pinning at the style lines and sides while matching notches. Now when you're done, you'll be sewing all 4 style lines with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, taking your time especially around the bust curve for the front style line and then sew the 2 side seams with a 1-inch seam allowance. When you're done, press all seam allowances open on both pieces like so. Setting the lining piece aside, trim the seam allowance of the 4 style lines only down to about 1/8 of an inch. This is to allow you cover it with bias tape and hence create channels for your boning. Pin your bias tape on each trimmed style line from top to bottom or bottom to top on the wrong side of your main fabric. Now you can also decide to pin from the top to where you want your boning to end if you don't want it to go all the way. I wanted my casing to go all the way, so I pinned from top to bottom. So what you want to achieve here is that the middle of the bias tape on the wrong side should be pinned to the seam line on the right side. So use your hands to feel underneath while pinning. Go ahead and baste the bias tape to your main fabric with a contrasting thread and in the same manner that you pinned. This will prevent the bias tape from shifting when sewing. When you're done basting, press down with your steam iron and sew each edge of the bias tape with a seam allowance that is less than 1/8 inch. That is very, very close to the edges. Once done, press and remove all basting thread. You can see the channels created. On the right side of your main fabric, mark your zipper allowance by marking 1 inch in from each open end and 1.5 inches up from the hem. That is your hem allowance. Do this on both sides. Starting from a hem allowance mark at the bottom, place your zipper teeth on the 1 inch mark made such that the zipper excess faces the open edge of your main fabric. Pin your zipper to your fabric and stitch close to the zipper teeth with your zipper foot. Do this on both sides, after which this is the point where you should test fit again for any final adjustments. Place your main and lining fabric together, right side to right side, and pin the neckline together from one end to the other, making sure that your zipper head is within the corset. Stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. After stitching, trim the excess to 2/8 inch from one end to the other. Snipping very close to the stitch line at the center front. Go ahead and press the seam allowance towards the lining fabric and then sew down to the lining fabric with a 1/8 seam allowance, starting from 1 inch away from the edge and ending 1 inch to the other edge. Basically, don't stitch at the zipper edge. When you're done, turn the lining fabric inside the main fabric and give it another press throughout the neckline. On one of your front and back patterns, measure the length of your style line from the actual hem to the top. Do not include any seam allowances. Subtract 1 inch from each measurement to take into consideration your folded hem and cut your boning to these lengths. With the boning I used, I ended up cutting 2 for each style line. Insert your boning into the created casing, ensuring that it reaches the top of the bodice. Your corset will start to have structure once you're done. To finish inserting your lining, turn the corset and the lining right sides to right sides and pin the zipper allowance of the lining and the main bodice together, matching all notches. sew together from top to bottom with a 1-inch seam allowance close to the teeth of the zipper on both sides. When you're done, turn out the corset and press with your steam iron. Matching seams at the hem, pin the hem of the lining and the main fabric together throughout the length of the hem. When you're done pinning, you will then need to baste the hems together to prevent the fabrics from moving. From the edge of the basted hem, mark half an inch first and then a further 1 inch down into the corset. Now you'll be folding the ½ inch mark first across the hem of the corset and holding down with pins. Press with your steam iron and then fold it over the 1 inch mark and pin down across the hem. You can use pins to stop the boning from sliding while you fold and press. When you're done folding, do a final press before stitching with a 1/8 seam allowance at the edge within the corset. And that's it, you're all done, your complete corset. Hope you've enjoyed the process. Drop me a comment or two to let me know how you found this tutorial, and be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss my other sewing projects. Until next time then, be good. See ya. Bye.